Alright guys, what's up? It's Iceman, and I've got a knife review for you. This is the Kershaw Injection 3.5. Now I've seen a few videos on YouTube. This is a relatively new knife, been out a very short time. And I've seen a few overviews, people just got them, kind of here's what they look like, etc. I haven't really seen a review on it, and I've actually been carrying this knife for about a week now, and it's really been a nice knife. I mean, for Kershaw's, this is one of their new designs for 2013, and all of their new designs, you'll see here in the background, the Shuffle. I picked this up today. I'll do a separate review on that one, but all of them are budget and friendly knives. They're all made in China, but with Kershaw, it's not really a bad thing because you still get their awesome warranty, 100% coverage, lifetime warranty. And this knife, I mean, if you didn't say made in China on it, you wouldn't know, because this is the, and I did a brief overview on one of the other videos. The Injection is a collaboration with Todd Rexford, based on his injection model. Now, one thing to note about these two models is that they're actually very similar in design. Not a lot of differences, minus the materials in the knives. Obviously, the Rexford Rexford Injection is going to be titanium. He's Damascus in a few of the versions, but the overall handle shape is exactly the same, and the pivot, which I mentioned in my other video, there we go, the pivot is exactly the same. And I'm going to actually have to plug in my camera before it dies, I think, so give me 2 seconds to do that, guys. Hopefully I don't bump the tripod in the meantime. It's that moment when you realize you have no battery in your camera and you already started a video. Alright, there we go. One thing I do love about my camera is I can charge it while doing a video. So, alright, let me get in position again without bumping anything. Alrighty, so, it has the same design features, has the same handle shape, I mean, just like this. Has the same pivot, actually. Obviously nicer materials, but I do like this knife quite a bit. It's been a good EDC knife. It's easy to open. I mean, this is a manual knife. It's pretty smooth. It's got a pretty decent detent on it. You can open it manually like this, or you can flick it open really easily. And the nice thing is these thumb studs have a lot of grooves in them, as you can see. Gives you a lot of purchase on the knife. So if you use your thumbnail, really flick it open pretty fast. So full flat grind on the blade, which is pretty awesome. It's a good slicer. Now, one thing I'll tell you ahead of time, you probably already know, it's a Rexford design, but it's also Chinese made, and it's got the 8 CR13 MOV steel. Now, not everyone's a huge fan of that steel. Personally, I'm impartial. It's not a horrible steel. It's not going to hold its edge very long, but it takes an edge extremely well, and it's extremely sharp, and this one is very sharp. And I mean, haven't sharpened it, I've stropped it, and it's been holding an edge really well. I've actually used this knife to cut aluminum cans. Basically what I was trying to do was kind of dull the edge, and I was cutting lots of paper, some cardboard, and it's still very sharp. Just with a little stropping. I'm trying to find a piece of paper that isn't already cut to shreds because I've been doing so much cutting between this and the Shuffle lately. Here's this is some already cut, but I caught a little bit on that, so it may have lost some of its edge. Oh no, see, there we go. That was just the way I was cutting. So it's still really sharp, and I've used the heck out of the knife. I mean, it's still cutting no problem, slicing those papers right off. So, and like I said, I've cut aluminum cans, which tends to dull your knife, cardboard, paper. I've used it for EDC tasks like food prep. I mean, all kinds of stuff. I've been using it quite a bit. I've been carrying it pretty much every day since I got it, whether it be a secondary or primary knife. I've been carrying it. The weight on this isn't bad. I want to say it's right around 4.4 ounces, but let's double check to be sure. Oh, 4.3. So I was really close. 4.3 ounces, so it's not too heavy. It's not crazy lightweight either. And the reason why is because the G10 handles are nice and light, and they have these grooves, you know, this design in here, these vents, so to speak. But they did not, I took the knife apart, and they did not skeletonize the liners at all. Probably to save costs, and would have been nice to lighten the knife up a little bit, but it's not a huge deal killer for me. I will say I did take the knife apart, which came apart really easily. Now this pivot looks like it's its own proprietary pivot, but it's actually just a very small Torx. It's actually the same size as these small screws. And there's these screws, the pivot screws, and then these two screws, and another pivot screw right here. And they all use the same wrench, the pocket clip, the whole 9 yards. So it's kind of nice. It's all the same bit. But when I took it apart, something I noticed was that it had brass washers around the pivot, but it also had like a nylon washer on the other side of the. So you have the, and you can't really see. You can kind of see the brass right next to on the blade on the pivot side, and on the other side of the liner, you've actually got another washer, which is a plastic nylon washer. So I thought that was kind of strange, 4 washers. But it's, I mean, it's pretty smooth. I mean, it's not like it's not going to fall on itself too easily without some shakes, but it does, you know, and it opens really nicely. It feels very smooth. I mean, it's got that nice strong D10. You can hear that when it sucks it into the knife. So, I mean, for 40 bucks, it's a screaming deal, especially the 3.5. Not a huge on the 3. It's a little too small for me. I like to have at least like a 3.25 inch to a 3.5 inch blade, if not bigger. Unless, you know, it's specifically supposed to be really small like the Shuffle, but so the blade size on this is perfect. It's very comfortable in hand. I mean, I have medium-sized hands. It gives me a nice 4-finger grip. Now, there is no jimping on the spine of the blade, which is actually not a surprise because Rexford doesn't actually use, well, at least on the collaborations he's done with CT with the 801, and then the injection here. None of these have jimping up here, so. But I mean, I don't find that to be a big issue. I'm not like a jimping freak. If I don't have it, I'm not going to carry the knife or, you know, anything like that. So it works good. The G10, I mean, the G10 scales are very nice. I'll give you kind of a close-up of those. They're really nicely done scales. I mean, they're not cheap at all. They're G10. They're not like that FRN, you know, crap that I'm not a big fan of, like that plasticky stuff. Not a fan of that. Funny enough, that's what the Shuffle has on it, but I'll go to that later. Clip is nice and small, low profile. It is a little tight. A lot of people have said it's pretty tight clip, which it is, but you could bend it out, and I haven't had any issue getting on my pants and stuff. Mine's not terribly tight, but it gives good retention. It's got a chamfered back spacer as well, and you've got a hidden lanyard hole, so you actually would run your lanyard right through here, and when you take the knife apart, you'll notice the back spacer is it's one piece, but it goes underneath like that, so for the lanyard hole it's kind of different. So, I mean, there's some good design elements on this knife that you don't normally see at this price point, especially with a Chinese-made knife. So, in my opinion, Kershaw's knocked it out of the park with this knife. I mean, I've been carrying it, I've been loving it. It's smooth. It's got, one thing I like is a lot of the cheaper budget knives they're just kind of plain. You know, I think of like the Ontario Rat 1. It's a good knife, and the Rot 2. They're good knives, but they've got that chintzy, plasticky handles. You know, pretty basic design. Nothing real that makes it stand out too much. Kind of same with the Tenacious from Spyderco. It has, you know, your basic G10. I mean, at least it has G10. I think that's a step up from the Rat 1. It's got G10, but, you know, not a lot of design elements to the knife. This knife, you're getting a lot of design elements because you're doing a collaboration with Todd Rexford. I mean, you got some nice detail on the pivot, the scales with the vents, the nice G10. You've got the grooves on the thumb studs. The thumb studs are larger and, you know, more design. You know, even the pocket clip's a little bit nicer. So and you got the chamfered back spacer. A lot of different, you know, elements that add a little bit of design to the knife. And I love the full flat grind blade. It is bead blasted. I would rather have a stone wash. Or even a satin blade on that. That's my one complaint, I guess. I'm not a huge bead blasted fan, but that's, you know, that's something easy enough to fix. Have that stone washed or whatever you've done want to do to it. So I'm definitely holding on to this knife. I see a good place in my collection as a nice EDC knife that I won't mind if I, you know, use and abuse, because the edge is pretty easy to sharpen up again, and, you know, it didn't cost me a few $100s. So definitely a great buy for 40 bucks. I mean, it's hard to beat. I bought mine at Blade HQ. They have them in stock now, both the 3.5 and the 3 if you're looking for something smaller. But I do highly recommend the Kershaw Injection. It's a great little knife, and it's a good value, you know, and their new value. And this is going to be my first value folder video. I'm going to do a series of value folders. I've got quite a few Kershaws coming. I have the Injection here. I got the Shuffle today at Walmart. I'll do a little review on this one. I've been carrying this all day. This is a fun little knife. And I've got the Thermite, which is the new Hinderer design, and the Cryo 2, which is the larger version of the original Cryo. Those are all on their way. So look for videos on those. And in the mix to that, I'm going to throw in a custom knife. I'm going to review and do an unboxing when I get the Ray Laconico Blast 2 from my buddy Eric. So that knife is not going to be mine to own, but he's going to let me use it for a while and check it out and drool over it, because it's been one of my grails for a long time, and I finally get the chance to fondle it and to play around with it. So anyways, any questions or comments, please leave them down below, and we'll see you next time.